Good morning. The open meeting for Tuesday, August 16, 2016 of the Federal Election Commission will come to order. First item on the agenda is the correction and approval of minutes. Mr. Vice Chairman, do we have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 30th, 2016 in agenda document number 16-31-A.
We have a motion on the table. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary, the motion carries by a vote of 6-0. We have a number of late submitted documents that we need to address through motion. Mr. Vice Chairman, do we have a motion?
Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Commission add to the agenda consideration of the motion to set priorities and scheduling of pending enforcement matters awaiting reason to believe consideration, and that the Commission determine pursuant to 11 CFR 2.7D that business so requires and no earlier public announcement was possible.
All right.
Do you want to move on that, or do you want me to continue on?
I guess
there's further ones.
Yes, why don't we move on to the whole motion?
Further, I move to suspend the rules on the timely submission of agenda documents in order to consider the late submission of the following documents. Agenda document number 1630B, draft B for advisory opinion 201608. Agenda document number 16-34-A, regulation 2014-10, implementing the Consolidated and Further Continuing Appropriations Act 2015. Agenda document 16-35-A, regulation 2016-3, political party rules. Agenda document number 1633-A, motion to set priorities and scheduling on pending enforcement matters awaiting reason to believe consideration.
With respect to the Vice Chairman's motion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that motion carries by a vote of 6-0. Just a quick scheduling note with regard to the agenda for today's meeting. We'll be taking up the draft advisory opinion 2016-08 next. With respect to items 3, 4, 5, and 6, we will not be considering those today. A number of those have agenda documents that have been put on the record with the understanding that they would be they're available for the public to be able to review and comment on if they so wish, and we will be taking up those items at the September meeting. So we will turn next to draft advisory opinion 2016-08, ebundler.com, submitted by Ronald Jacobs and Bill Powers. And if you would like to join us at the witness table in the event that we have questions. And from the Office of General Counsel, we have Esther Jory and Nevin Stepanovic to give us a presentation. And good morning to the both of you. And when you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Peterson. Good morning, Commissioners. Before you are agenda documents 16-30-A and 16-30-B, two draft advisory opinions responding to a request from ebundler.com LLC. The requester is a nonpartisan, for-profit, limited liability company that provides certain fundraising services to political committees through a platform called eBundler. The requester has developed a second online platform, Donorship, to process individual donations and contributions and to allow an individual to solicit his or her online contacts for contributions to political committees and organizations. The requester asks several questions regarding its proposed provision of services to political committees and to individuals who make contributions. Both drafts conclude that the requester may provide its services to political committees and may process and forward contributions made by individuals, as described in the request, without making a contribution to any political committee. The drafts further conclude that the proposed plan would not subject the requester to any reporting requirements. We did not receive any comments on the request or on the drafts. Thank you, and I would be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Do we have any comments or questions of the requester? I guess I would just ask Mr. Jacobs or Mr. Powers if you had any comments on the drafts. They're quite similar, and just wanted to, if you have any thoughts before we move to a vote, just wanted to.
No, we're fine with either draft.
Okay. Do we have any further comments? Do we have a motion? Okay. Commissioner Hunter?
Thank you. I move approval of agenda document number 16-30-B, also known as Draft B.
Is there any discussion on that motion? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that motion carries by a vote of 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll turn then to item 7 on our agenda, which is the motion to set priorities and scheduling on pending enforcement matters awaiting reason to believe consideration. This was submitted by the Vice Chairman, and it relates to agenda document number 16-33-A.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I thought I
Mr.
saw it
Vice
at the end of the agenda. This is a, what? Yeah, I know. This is a motion that's a follow-up on some motions that I filed last year to bring attention to where we are on the enforcement process. And as this particular report indicates, there's been substantial changes in the number of cases which are pending before us. In July 14th of last year, there were 72 pending matters, a number waiting over 2 years and a couple over 3 of matters pending before the commission. Now there's 44, substantially reduced. Really a comfortable pace for dealing with this. I still have a motion consistent with the one that I had filed before, which I will move, but I will say at this point that I do think the rate that we're taking is really quite productive, and probably will be able to extinguish it, some of the pending matters, hopefully in shorter order. Unless there's any questions, why I guess I just move the motion that's before the commission. And, I don't think it's necessary to read it.
Madam Secretary, should he read the full extent of the motion?
I think if Commissioner Walther just clarifies that he is moving the motion that is outlined on his document on pages 8 and 9, that will be sufficient.
Okay, so move.
Okay. I just want to quickly weigh in just on the motion. I won't be able to support it, but I appreciate the fact that I think Commissioner Vice Chairman Walther and I have been able to work, I think, effectively this year at trying to, as he notes in his memorandum, that's part of this agenda document, how we've been able to slash substantially the number of matters that the commission has in the quote-unquote backlog, and of the ones that are remaining, there are a substantial number that are being abated out of request from the Department of Justice, or because there is pending litigation that's going on that has an impact one way or another on some of those matters. So that reduces the number even more substantially. I think that the rate at which we've been able to dispose of matters this year, we've been able to do so at an efficient rate. We'll be having an executive session later on today, at which we'll be able to dispose of more of these. I'd be happy to, as we move forward between now and the end of the year, if we do need to add additional meetings, we can evaluate things as things go forth, because I think we both share the goal of trying to reduce the number of matters that are pending before us to as close to zero as possible. I mean, we have matters being circulated to us on a very regular basis. There's always going to be a log of matters to do, but I think that we've been able to cut substantially into that, and look forward to continuing to do that throughout the remainder of this year. And like I said, if we can, if we need to look and see if we need to add a date or two, we can keep that discussion open, over the next little while. Commissioner Weintraub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I appreciate the fact that we have made some progress on the backlog, and my compliments to the chairman and to Lindsay in particular, who keeps I think us on pace on that. I do think that we could do even better. I'm going to support the motion. I support anything that will help us to resolve our cases quickly. We have fewer cases right now, but we know that in the run-up to the election is when we get the most complaints. So we really need to get ahead of it, because it is predictable that by the end of the year we're going to see a big uptick in complaints. We resolved a number of the matters that had longstanding holds on them. Didn't necessarily resolve them to my satisfaction, but we did get them off the agenda, so that's some kind of progress. And I think that's part of what has made the numbers look better. A while back, I introduced a motion that we should make a commitment to vote on all of council's recommendations within 6 months of when they hit our desks, and I continue to believe that's not an unreasonable goal. Continue to be frustrated that we can't, make that commitment. But I do appreciate the efforts that have been made to reduce the backlog, at least at this moment in time. However, because there still is a backlog, I will support the motion.
Commissioner Rappel.
Go.
Commissioner Hunter.
Thank you. Thank you also to the chair who's really moved things forward without a lot of drama, and I certainly appreciate it. As noted by the vice chairman in his memo, there's been a 61% decrease in the number of matters pending before the commission during the past 9 months, and I think it's actually even a higher percentage, but that's beside the point. There's definitely been a marked improvement in how quickly things are handled, and I appreciate that. Also, I agree with the chair. I'm certainly willing to add meetings whenever we need them. A lot of the work that happens goes on between the meetings. So a lot of negotiations, lots of meetings with Office of General Counsel, lots of moving back and forth of paperwork with changes to documents. The other issue here is it's a little hard to really debate the vice chair's motion because a lot of the matters, they're all confidential. So I can't sit here right now and talk about each one in the chart because, as you know, much of the chart is redacted for, as required by the statute for confidentiality reasons. So it's hard for me to really explain each matter. Actually, I cannot. So I'm going to join the chair in not supporting it, but certainly more than happy to add meetings if needed, and I appreciate the speed in which we've been able to accomplish our goals this year.
Commissioner Rappel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, am going to support the motion, and while in the past I've not been necessarily of the view that things can be accomplished solely by additional meetings, we've had an extraordinarily large number of meetings canceled this year, and it seems to me that we could be much more effective, and I have to commend the chair as well for working on putting many items on the agenda that have been able to be resolved, but we could do better. And so I am definitely going to support the motion.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we have the motion on the table, and we'll call the votes. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Madam Secretary, that motion fails by a vote of 3-3. Ms. Orrick, are there any management or administrative matters that need to be
There are
taken up
none,
this
sir.
time?
There are none, sir.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.